Good evening. I should start today by warning you that it's been a long couple of days. And, well, tonight I pretty much ate, for tea, someone who knocked on my door. Now, we all have cold callers, and, well, most of the time we're not overly enamoured to see them. But this one was special. This one knocked on the door. I opened the door and there were two young girls, and I appreciate that they were girls, and it's not like they were big intimidating guys, but hi, we're calling, no thank you, shut the door. They came back and knocked on my door again. Well, they didn't get nice to me that time. So my patience is currently somewhat non-existent. So this may not be the longest stream in living history because, well, if it keeps messing, if I have to shorten too many bobbins or repeat myself or, because I keep making mistakes, it's not a good plan, right? But at the same time, I'm going to try, right? Because, well, I didn't make any yesterday. And, well, lace curtains do not make themselves. So I'm just unwrapping my bobbins from their slumberous sleep, of which somehow they're all tied up and all of those kind of moments. So you need to go over there. We want you. So let me show you where we're at. I had straightened on my pillow, but then the dog decided to do the leap thing, and of course, I'm not really in the mood for that either. But the dog did the leap thing and knocked everything. So, yeah. I spent ages making sure it was all lined up and on camera. And it's just one of those days. So, I don't need you. I do need you. I need to work back this way. I need at least one of you. Like that. This is where you end up with a lot of mistakes, is when it's doing this and you can't tell whether you've, unfribbled them from the pins of yesteryear or not. And then you end up with loops because, of course, you hadn't, and back in there. So, of course, having yelled at them the second time, I then had to apologise to my neighbour because, well, my neighbour and I, we have a great relationship. I love them to pieces, and I think they've only ever heard me scream at someone a couple of times. One was a co-worker. He deserved it. Oh, he deserved it. In 2020, when it was like 58 million degrees and he'd done really dumb stuff and it was just one of those, what the actual F are you doing? Who agreed that this was a thing? Oh wait, nobody agreed it was a thing with you. It was something you invented and it screwed it up for everybody else. You need to stop making decisions. You're being a knob, because he made lots of decisions, but it's kind of like, oh, I got around a coffee for everyone. Or if I didn't want a coffee, it was that kind of thing. It was not necessarily badly intentioned, but he'd made a decision for everybody that they were getting coffee. But he didn't see that that was a decision that he'd made for everybody. He's like, well, no, I didn't make any decisions. But you didn't ask. You didn't ask if this was how people wanted it, or if there were other ideas, or our opinions on it, because we were working all as a team. There were 3 of us at the time, and it was kind of like, you really, really didn't ask. You just went ahead, picked something, and the size and the shape and what if we didn't want that? What if we know better than that? And he constantly does it. I found out something else he's done it with. It's not going to mean anything to you, but if you think of a swap file, if your Windows generally friendly, you'll know your Windows has a swap file. The recommended size is usually at least half the amount of memory that you've got. Well, he's decided they're all 2 gig. You might have 64 gig allocated to a server, but no, that's fine. You can have a 2 gig file, irrelevant of what you've got. Well, it's not suiting everybody, but he's made it near impossible to change it. Because he didn't ask. Personally, I'd have defaulted to 8, because none of our servers have less, so... What made you pick 2? Who agreed 2 with you? You know, it's... So yeah, but we've had a problem that seems to be like everything. Once you've seen it, you see more of it, right? Once you notice it happen, you notice it happening more. And everyone's been blaming this and everyone blames that, but everyone comes back and goes, not me, Gov, right? And I spent hours on it last week. Hours on it this week. Well, I've spent at least 2 days on it this week. But it's not my problem. But I spent the entire day by myself working on it, and so I am really, really 1000% not in the mood for it today. It's alright. I just realised I didn't add any and didn't take any out. And so yeah, girls knocking on the door, going, "Hi." Oh, fuck off. I don't like cold callers at the best of times. But once I've said no, ain't fucking no. What part I already said no, kind of, you know, breathing fire at them. And apparently my neighbours are amused. But... I think it'd be funny if my neighbours turned up here and chat. That'd be really amusing. I am super tired. Super tired. And of course these door knockers came just as I was kind of trying to lie down and chill out a bit before I do this, so that I wouldn't be in a really bad mood. Well, guess that didn't really work, did it? I'm beginning to itch. Just want to find something here. Why is it everything these days, when you search for it, it doesn't actually search for it? Doesn't add up again. What did I say about not having patience for this? I hate it when you can't tell where you went wrong. There. I went wrong there. So I need to go back all that way. So I need all 4 of you. Let's take this jumper off. Oh, just sit still, Amy. You're really not in the position to be fucking me about, you know? So apparently the people I shouted at were from HelloFresh. Well, HelloFresh are about to get a shitogram of a lifetime, so... which reminds me, do they have a complaint number? Yep. Bear with me, I'm going to make a phone call. I will go on mute for the moment. There we go. Right. HelloFresh are now aware that their people are not acting in a professional manner. As I said to the lady, I'm more than happy to shout at idiots who come back for round 2. But, of course there are ads, right? Of course there's bloody ads. 4. Why does that look more? 1, 2, 3, 4. No, that's right. Sigh. That's what I can say about that. Yeah, my biggest concern is always for those who are not so willing to no means no kind of thing, and that will feel bullied into or pressured into agreeing to something they don't want. So yeah, I'm more than happy to. Hell, I'll swear at you if if you come back for round 3. Dear God, I hope you strapped in because it's going to be a bumpy ride. But yeah. I wasn't rude to them. I just shouted very loudly at them to the point my neighbour could hear me. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you go up here. And you go in like that. there's 2. It's just hiding. Okay. That's alright. That's you out, alright. Come on. Tidy up. Not too long. Just make it shorter. So yes, it's been a day. Well, at least that added up this time, so that's always a good thing. What do I mean by added up? Because they come out of this section in pairs, this is a number of pairs. So when you get to the bottom and you're going to have one half of the pair dangling, you've clearly screwed it up. So this is where I was at. I noticed that I was going to have the wrong number, that I was going to have half a pair sticking out the bottom, and I know this to be wrong. So I clearly messed it up somewhere. The problem was, couldn't tell where easily. Ping, 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 said Discord. Was it? Where's my ping? Says Discord again. What do I need to be silencing? So, 1, 2, 3, 4. Bad! Bobbin number 5. Hey, naughty cow. How you doing, naughty cow? It's been a day. I had door knockers who didn't take no for an answer. So Liz the dragon came out and ate them. Much to the amusement of my neighbour who heard me. My neighbours and I get on exceptionally well. But they are finding it funny that I screamed at them, basically. I'm more impressed I didn't swear at them. I feel I need a medal, but, you know. Kind of, I mean, in fairness to these were two girls. They were two younger girls. I'd say probably early 20s, maybe earlier. To be honest, didn't look at them too hard. But there was me, having had a really long day at work. I had a really long day yesterday, as you're aware. So yesterday I worked 11, 12 hours. And frankly was not fit for shit. So today, after my obligatory 8 odd hours, I decided that I would lie on the couch, and the dogs and I just got comfortable. Bang, bang, bang on the door. I've got a frigging doorbell, you annoying people. But okay, so got up, shut the dogs in here so that they don't leap all over them. Opened the door. Girls in green tabards. No, shut the door, went away. So they came back. No, not immediately. Oh, no, it's not like they knocked again. Oh, I'm sorry, why not? No, it wasn't anything like that. They went away, obviously spoke to my neighbour, and then came back. Knocked on my door. This time, opened door, saw the same green tabard. What? What part of no don't you understand? Slam. But at the best of my vocal ability, so pretty much half the local village will have heard me. So yeah, and then of course, just to make sure, because obviously cold coolers do have rules and regulations they must follow, I phoned up the appropriate company's support line to tell them that their door knockers are unprofessional, because when you say no, it means no. It's not no, come back in 10 seconds. There was no hint of that. And no, love, I'm not giving you my name, my phone number, and my email so you can harass me forevermore. Just don't let them do it to someone who's more vulnerable. Hello, Fresh. Now, I'm not against what HelloFresh do. It's nothing like that. I have no, I don't really care for them myself, but because but it is that kind of problem, right? Is that for me, it's more about the if you're prepared to do it to me when I am very quite clearly capable of shouting at you for your own stupidity. And ask any of the people who've ever cold called me. I have a mouth, as you well know, not to count. I know lots of swear words, and because I've said most of them at some point. But cold call me, you don't really get a chance of nice Liz. Nice Liz does not happen when you cold call me. The moment you ask for Elizabeth, the moment you say Mrs. Kimber, because of course Mrs. Kimber is not me, I can't be Mrs. Kimber because that's my maiden name, and so Mrs. Elizabeth Kimber was my grandmother who died in 2004. I've done that one a few times. She's dead. Oh, I'm sorry, when did she die? 2004. Oh, but we have, yeah, I'm Miss. You can't even get that right. How about you do one, But there was one cold caller. Oh, he was so brave. He was the stupidest douche in the history of cold calling douchebags. So he rang up. And it was like, phone down. Ring, 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 ring. Hello, but what part of half, because I'm on the telephone preference screen. It's actually illegal to cold call me. Not that it has a lot of weight, but technically it does. And half, and he must have called back 6 times. Well, the last time he learned every swear word that I know at a volume only I am capable of, for I was blessed with lungs, and well, the girl found out how good they were this evening, to be honest. As I say, my neighbours heard me. Now, our houses are separate. We're not in a terrace here. My neighbours heard me with their doors and windows shut. I mean, I'm blessed, right? They didn't have to ask me why I was, or what I was shouting out. They knew. They knew exactly what it was about. There was none of this, oh, were you all right? I heard you shouting. Did you need some? No, it was, yeah, we heard. But yeah, I have apologised to my neighbours. I'm not going to apologise to the girls because they deserved it. If you're stupid enough to come back, well, you clearly wanted it, right? And as the only word that I said the first time was no, it's not ambiguous. It's not like, well, maybe they thought that I was just busy, could I come back? No. What part of no? No is decisive, in my opinion, But I do feel for those who are not so strong-willed that they will, that someone coming back, oh, well, maybe I ought to buy it from them, Neck kisser! How you doing? How you doing? I haven't had them for ages, My old house used to get quite a few. I don't think I've had one here yet. I love messing with them. My dad would have told you I actively encourage them. Not because I want them, you understand. But I used to love kind of the Ah, you've come to visit the test of your faith, have you? Oh yeah, they did write to people during COVID because they at least had the politeness not to knock anyway, right? Because they weren't allowed to. But yeah, they wrote, like, they printed out those kind of fake handwritten letters. Yeah, we all had one of those, I think. Well, good for you. Good for you. I would point out that American isn't English, it's American, but, you know, good for you. We are nations divided by our own language, you know. But good for you, Neck Kisser. I'm proud of you. Well, to be honest, what is your natural language, Neck Kisser? You are Finnish, yeah. I thought you were. I just wanted to check because, you know, but your written English is absolutely bang on. It is very good and doesn't come over as a non-native English speaker. You don't have any kind of weirdness to it or anything. It comes over just like, for example, me and Nauticelt. Now, I am going to curse Nauticelt because I'm sure Nauticelt speaks Welsh. But, you know, Nauticelt is also speaking English, so, you know. So, you know, from that point of view, it is not obvious that you're not a non-native speaker. So if you speak like you write, then, you know, you might have a bit of an accent or whatever, but it's very good English. I mean, I had a boss who was Dutch. Now, most Dutch people, and most Europeans, in fact, well, Dolly, I'm 53 and I still screw it up. I found the opposite, but then of course I'm dyslexic. I found the opposite with languages in that I can hear a word and know what it means, you know, and be told what it means and remember that. How to spell it and get the grammar right is a lot harder because being understood. So, for example, obviously I'm used to the English grammar. You know, if I was going to say I'm going to the hospital, that's exactly what I say. I'm going to the hospital. But that's not how you say it in, say, German. In German, I am hospital going. Now, I have to remember that. And, you know, it's the same as we have rubber ducks. In French, it's duck made of rubber, or technically plastique. I've always, you know, so hence I've struggled with other languages, not because they're there. If it was word for word translation, it would be all right. It's the, you know, for example, words in English don't have genders. Now, I think I think quite a few people have here. Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, and this is a good example. So, you know, this is a bobbin. Well, A and an are singular, so it's like, this is one bobbin. Now, the only reason it's an is because it starts with a vowel. I mean, personally, don't get it. Except if it's historical, then it's an historical event, not a historical event. Allegedly, my brain is telling me that this has been drummed into me, but never totally understood it because it starts with an H. But you do have. It is one of those. I mean, English is not an easy language to learn. The fact that read and read are written down exactly the same means that when you know, I read a book, I read a book. Well, it's going to look the same. How the hell do you know? Now, normally you wouldn't say, I read a book. That's the only way you would know. Normally it's like, I will read a book, or I am reading a book, and I read a book. But I read a book is still a valid sentence. And I read a book is technically a valid sentence. But you would normally say, I am reading a book. Why? Fuck knows. It is a very difficult thing. And so, you know, but if you did that, I'm really proud of you. Because as I say, I know that doing something in another language isn't easy. I once helped someone sort their web issues out. Well, good for you. I mean, I used to do some voluntary work for a web hosting company. And one day we had someone who only spoke German. And I sat there and I managed to help them. Now, I did German for 2 years, age 14 to 16. I didn't exactly do well. I got a D, right? So I was not exactly fluent at the end of it. But I did get better on with German than I did with French for some reason. Whatevs, right? But it was, you know, I managed to help them with their German. So the first thing, obviously, you do is you say, look, my German's pretty awful, but I will try. So I did. And occasionally I had to Google a couple of words because what the hell does that mean? But I managed to hold a conversation with them in my terribly broken German. I'm sure they were howling with laughter at the state of my German, but they were polite enough not to say anything, and we did resolve the issue. So, to be honest, whether your English was awesome or not, if you were successful in your conversation, that's all that matters. It really is. And the fact that you had a, you know, half an hour conversation in another language, that's phenomenal. Especially if you're not talking about the rain, simple directions, and where you live. Because, you know, the first thing you tend to learn in another language is, hi, my name is, I'm so many years old, I live here, and how to count from 1 to 10, and simple directions. Not usually useful when you've got a technical problem. Your name's useful. Not a lot of the rest of that was, you know, so... You know, if you remember most of your high school whatever, it was not always going to help you through that. So I'm proper proud of you. I don't think I could do that. I'm very proud of you. It's cheered me up, that has, actually. We tend to. Most of English is gender neutral. But French has 2. German, for Christ's sake, has 3. I mean, talk about complicating matters. And I've never understood how a table is, I know, female or male. It is a table. It is a bobbin. It is a cup. It is a car. How has that got a gender? You know? Now, people will swear that their cars are usually female, but I'm not pretty sure. Fair enough. Makes the whole kind of LGBTQ Pride Month a lot easier. If you're all one gender, you can't offend them because we can't get it wrong. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of... I'm one of these people, I find it interesting, but also not interesting, and I don't know how to explain it. But I find it interesting that languages can assign, you know, some languages assign genders to objects. Well, to be honest, that's probably more natural for you, because your language doesn't differentiate between male, female in the first place, right? In English, the only things that you refer to as he or she are items that have genders, such as animals, humans. Nothing else tends to have. Well, I'm not surprised. Because obviously, as you know, as a native English speaker, we will say, oh, he did that, she did that. But you also get things... Ships and boats tend to be called she, but at the same time... It's like cars. Most men will say that she, meaning their car, right? But it's not kind of an official thing. It is a... Yeah, but at the same time, it's not an official thing. It's just always done. So it's not a rule and regulation of the language. It's just something that always seems to happen. 99% of cars on the road will be, if you ask them what gender their car is, oh, it's a she. It's female. Lots of cars seem to be called Daisy. Maybe they drive like a cow. I don't know. My current car is definitely male. My car is definitely male. Most of my cars have been female, but this car, definitely not. No way is that a female car. And yet I can't explain it. It doesn't feel female. It feels masculine. And other people have agreed. They've driven my car and gone, you're right, that's not a female car. But how? It's an inanimate object. It doesn't have a gender. Exactly, it's a flying car. It does not have a gender. And if it does, we have gone really wrong in the world, my friend. You know, and more to the point, why aren't they having baby cars? You know, I get really frustrated with, and which is why I find foreign languages very difficult, because my brain can't get over why is, I know, a chair female or a table male. Who made this stupid decision? And the only thing I did like about German is that der, die and das, if you say them fast enough, they also apostrophe it. So a bit like can't is cannot, right? They do de. And it's not de as in de, it is d apostrophe. So while it is das Auto, the car, it is gender neutral. Der, D, yeah. Der is male, D is da, female, das is neutral, right? Had to think about that. So car is neutral. Well, that makes sense because it's a fucking car. I get that if Liz is going to do this, that's female, that's fine. I could kind of follow that. Yeah, you see, that's just complicated for the sake of it. That's just unnecessary, surely. Does it really help? I mean, for example, I do know that many other languages do that. So there was a post I read on the internet last night, which was someone went into a shop and the people in there were generally rude. And as they walked out, I can't remember exactly what it was because it was Spanish, but it was basically idiot, right? Idiot. Well, because they're female, it should be idiota. If you've got to change every word because you're now female, screw that. No, that doesn't need to happen. We don't need to be doing that. I mean, that's one of the things that I do like about the British language is, like, you know, when you learn French or whatever as a kid, you know, I can't think of any, but you do, like, he says, she says, I say, he says, she says, you say, you plural say, they say, you know, kind of thing. And you learn you go through all of your verbs and the common conjugations of them, right? You don't do that when you learn English. As children, we never did that in class. We never sat there going, he says, they say, you know. Exactly, right? But we never sat there and went, I say, he says, she says, you say. We don't do that. It's not how we learn our verbs as English, but it's how we learn every other language. And in doing it, my brain really couldn't cope because I get, you know, I say, he says, she says. Great. But, you know, I know I fail, you fail, they fail, everybody fails, right? Well, what do you mean when the computer breaks it's male, therefore he fails, but when say the boat fails and it's she, then she fails? How are you assigning these genders? Where if the, you know, my chair does not have a gender. If it does, I'm really worried about it. And it never made sense to me that that other languages do genders for inanimate objects. For items that have genders, yeah, fine. And if you have different verb conjugations for it, I get it. But don't be making up that, you know, all these random inanimate objects have genders. Who decided you're right? Who decided that a chair is male? How was that decided? How did that happen? Yeah. So yeah, I've always struggled with foreign languages because they've all seemed to got genders. So, you know, maybe I should learn Finnish instead. I'd probably suck at it though. So. Yes, it's definitely been a day. But I'm so glad you're all here. It made me feel better. I needed that. Internet farted, sorry. Very good question. Who did you make the anti-burglar devices for? I mean, I know that's not their original purpose, but it would work. Who did you make the door knocking, burglar deterrents for? No, I know, but I know it's a doorstop, but it would make a really good weapon, so I'm sorry, I'm sticking with it. Is there something else you can make who that's for, something similar in that line? It's the fact that you gave it a handle. If you'd just done the square without a handle, right? Absolutely doorstop. But the fact that you've given it like a basket handbag wielding kind of strap so that you can really wang it at somebody's head. Just anti-burglar doorstop then. Think of it that way. good to have the regulars around. I do appreciate you all. I don't disagree, my friend. I really don't. But for me, the fact that you've put a handle on it, what I see is, you know, for example, stupid bitch comes back for round 3. Well, she's going to get brained with one, you know? Round 3 and I'm armed and ready, you know? If I see that green tabard through the door, I'm picking up my doorstop by its handle and I'm going to swing it. If she's stupid enough to be in the way, well, never mind, eh? You know? You've come off your thing. Oh no. I would agree that day was a shitty day and all over, to be honest. So, you are amongst friends. Good. I'm glad you found a way to improve it. That's always a good thing. We like it like when we learn something as part of our journey. For some reason, I have screwed up, but I can't quite work out how. Whatever. Don't suppose you'll be able to see it on camera. Let's see if you can. Hang on. So, let's go to the left. It's going to be virtually invisible, but let me push these pins down. If you move the camera to the side, so that you have a bit more of a side-on view, and I need to make it bigger so I can see what you see. And of course it's behind the text. Now I can't hide the text. You can just see it. Let me see if I can move it out a bit. Hang on. If you look here, this goes... Oh no, it's off screen. Hang on. If you look... Where is it? Here. You look here, it dents in. This pin is not because it's at an angle. It is actually not straight for some reason. I don't know why not, but it's not straight. And, well, bugger. Yeah. I do hate it when it's not obvious as to why. It is. I'm not entirely sure why it's different. I mean... It's like it's not round the pin, but it is round the pin. So I'm wondering if it's not quite enough round the pin. Only half the thread is round the pin, or... But it's not... Yeah, I would too. But if I take the pin up, I can see a thread round the bottom. But that doesn't mean it's all of the thread round the bottom. So let's see if I can poke at it. No, there is something funky about that. But it is what it is. Life is short. Now I can't tell if I've put it in right. Hang on. Yeah, I think I screwed up somehow anyway. Yeah, what ifs. It's not as straight as I'd like it, but it's not that bad. World won't end. I need to check where I put the other bobbin, because I think I'm a bobbin short. I'm sure there was a bobbin I meant to have in this bag. It's 2, 4, 6, 8. Well, that's not enough. I'm missing 2 bobbins. The fuck? I counted them before. I was only missing 1 bobbin. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. No, this is all of them. That's all right then. Okay. But you are real friggin' empty. So let's not pretend that that's a thing. I mean, this bit of string is not going to do anything for anybody. Going to see the thread wobbling bottom right hand corner again. I got the yawn. Felicity B. How you doing? I know normally I'd put this on my bobbin winder and I'm doing it by hand. Cool. It's always a pleasure to have you, my friend. Getting cramp in my hands. Oh, my hands. Fortunately, these are the only two bobbins I think I need to wind. Although, that one's pretty useless. Well, sadly, today has been shorter, which was a good thing, but equally pants. In fact, technically, more pants. So, let me explain this to you. Now, I'm going to treat you all like you know nothing, just in case of the lowest denominator. We have a problem at work. The problem is that when we use a system so that you don't log into a server, you log into the system that monitors what you do on the server and records it and does all sorts of fancy shenanigans. And so whatever you connect to, you do not make a direct connection to it, okay? Now you can through, say, websites and whatever, but if you want to actually log on to the underlying server, you have to go through this system. Now, people are reporting that when they use the underlying system, it is hanging. But it is not the underlying box that hangs. Now, we didn't have any recreatable events. We've spent over a week with people moaning about it and not really seeing it ourselves. Now, this in part is because now we know a bit more about it. You have to be doing a certain kind of thing for it to be more visible. And in essence, we proved yesterday, which is why I had a long day, that if you go direct to the server, because some of us can cheat and go direct to our servers, we're not supposed to, but we can, right? The problem does not occur under any situation. This would suggest it is not the endpoint server, that it is this thing or transmissions potentially between the thing that does the logging in and the server. So it's a bit like having roads, you know, just because the motorway is down between here and whatever does not mean that the place has fallen off the universe. The place is still there. It is your getting to it that is impeded. And, you know, traffic may be flowing early, but someone then has an accident, the road now blocked and everyone's sitting in a traffic jam. And lots of people give up, turn around and go home. And it's very similar potentially for network traffic. It will sit and wait a little bit, but after a while it gives up and doesn't get there. And it was happening primarily to my servers. But this is because I deal with Unix, and in dealing with Unix, Unix is nearly as tolerable as I am. It's got a very short fuse, and if you stop talking to it, or stop listening to it, Well, it's more than happy to stop listening and talking to you. It won't do the Windows, oh, I'll try again later. It doesn't do that, right? It just kind of goes, screw you, hate you, ignore you, right? But we spent ages, and we had my co-worker, who texts me a lot, that one, managed to come up with a recreatable way of making it happen. So now we could do it on demand. Oh yeah, Unix is absolutely 100. If you do not know what you're doing, do not come here, right? It is not for the meek and the feeble. It is. You want to scrub your disk? There you go. You typed bollocks, you can have bollocks then. It's really not proud, right? If you ask for a sprout sandwich it is. You say, but I'm allergic to sprouts, and it said, but you asked for a sprout sandwich, so I gave you one. It will do exactly what you say, irrelevant how stupid that may be. You can delete your entire operating system under Unix while you're using it. But at the same time, you don't have to reboot it every time the wind changes. So it has good points and bad points. Anyway, having proved that it was a repeatable event, between me and co-worker, came up with, because I can get direct to the service, we proved that early on that if you turned off the antivirus, the problem stopped. That it now worked going through this additional system. So we desperately tried to get hold of the antivirus guy, of course he had the day off, and so we got hold of his manager and said, look, dude, really need your help. And he jumped on the call. It was very good of him. And he called in some other people to try and assist. And of course, the moment we went to show him, well, now I was showing it through Teams. Well, it stopped work. It didn't work again. Suddenly, the antivirus on and off didn't make it not happen no more. So we then spent the next 11 kind of frigging hours trying to work out, make it happen, trying to view logs of things that we didn't really have access to, because certain people of certain systems hadn't shared them and weren't joining the call and claiming it can't be me and, you know, all that kind of crap. And so yesterday I spent the whole day on the phone answering stupid questions. Oh, so it must be what the Unix box is doing. Why? If I do it straight on the Unix box, it doesn't do it. So it's not inherently the server. It is something about the extra strain and stresses of doing this. And we did prove that there were some interesting traits, but nothing conclusive. But we still had a reproducible event. So I continued looking this morning because I'd got some more information, i.e. access to some systems I didn't yesterday, namely this thing in the middle. Not one person spoke to me about it today, not one person helped me, not one person interacted with me, not one person did shit. And I've spent, it's not my problem, my Unix boxes are good, I can walk away. But I didn't, I was trying to help all of our customers who are suffering this. Now, we know it's not this system in the middle, because we see the effect under other things. But you almost have to know what you're looking for. How many times have you gone to a web service, something on the internet, clicked the button and kind of gone, well, I clicked you, what are you doing? This is basically the same kind of scenario. And we have this and everyone's going, oh, it's all of the Unix boxes on one particular site. No, it's not. Oh, well, it is. No, all you've seen is Unix boxes on one particular site. I'm seeing it on the other site on Windows servers. So can we stop blaming the Unix servers? Oh, but it must be the Unix servers. Why? Unix servers got nothing to do with it. If I go to a web page on a Windows box, there are no Unix servers involved in that whatsoever. Oh, but no, you're missing the point. We have boiled down today that it is That's okay. But we've basically proved that it is a flood of data of screen updates. So it is the updating of the screen to show the current progress of... So whether you type out a text file, whether you're running a command that has a lot of stuff that it throws up to screen, it is that is dying, not anything else. And moreover, today, I have proved that the underlying process doesn't hang and stop where the output does. So it's not, you know, oh, I died at this point and, you know, hence the output. It's not the output is stopping, the output is continuing. It is absolutely the displaying of it that is the issue. But no one was around to give a shit, so I was trying to talk to someone at about 4 o'clock, and then they kind of went, well, with all due respect, I'm logging off. I started at 7 this morning. I looked at the clock and it was 4:30, and it was like, screw this. Kind of shut my machine and walked off. So, and then of course, just to make my day good, I lie down to have a little bit of a chill and listen to something on my computer. And I'm just chilling out, getting comfortable, maybe for a slight nap with the dog. Someone knocks at the door. So I pin the dogs in here and I go to the door, and it's girls in tabards. Hi. No, not interested. And shut the door. I'm generally not interested. If you're cold calling me, I'm not interested. Even if I did want it, now you've bothered me without invitation, I'm now not interested, right? Cold call me is almost a guaranteed way of making sure I never buy from you. Even if I want to and you're the only one selling it, you know. So I go back, I lie down on the couch, get comfortable with the dog. Knock, knock. Who now? I open the door. It's the same people. Yeah, I kind of chat them. That's the kind of day I've had today. So, and if my manager gives me shit tomorrow, it's the kind of day he's going to have, because I'm going to shout at him, and I'm going to stand up for this kind of moment. So, sorry world, piss me off, someone's going to regret it, and it won't be me. I probably will regret it, but not for a while, anyway. It's just one of those things, is that no one loves a cold caller at the best of times. But yeah, this was not a good thing. This was not good. Didn't need that. getting too old. Oh, people. It's Wednesday, right? Good. Means I probably should be doing the bin. That's the thing. Thursday, 5th of June, green bin. Right, got to do that. Do that afterwards. The cardboard that I put together from the bit that I tidied up, yes, all of that cardboard has gone. Doesn't mean that there isn't more, but certainly that bit, all the stuff that I cleared up and sorted out has gone, yes. And yes, I'm deliberately making that quite intentionally specific. It's one of the biggest problems I have doing this, because what happens is by the time I've done work, eaten some food, counting my brain cells, I then start the stream. We do a couple of hours of this and I'm kind of shot. But I find that by the time I've done this, I'm kind of peopled out and I just want to kind of curl up a bit. I put the thing on to upload for YouTube after typing out, you know, what it's about and, you know, all of those kind of bits. And then I watch to see that it's going up and all the rest of it. So I'll then watch, you know, 20 minutes of TV and either go to bed and then wake up in the middle of the night and discover it's gone up and then post about it, or wait till it's posted and post about it. I completely forget then to do any of the other things. I buy mine off Amazon. But you can go, if you need a very specific size, I would say go to Amazon. If you go to Tesco, Sainsbury's, Waitrose, whatever, and ask, there is a really good chance that they would give you a box that had tin beans in it, or a box that had something else in it, and you can ask them for like small, medium and large. They often will let you have boxes without, you know, asking for money in return. So that's quite a small box. But yeah, you can ask. Ask, you know, I would say ask at your local food store, because anywhere that sells food gets product in cardboard, right? So ask at your food store if they've got anything that's close enough that size. You know, if they've got, say, 8 by 8 by 10, or, you know, you can just pad it out with a bit of crap, right? Put some rolled up junk mail in it at the top or whatever. But if you ask them, they, you know, but they don't have any, then you have to start looking at going to Amazon and saying, have you actually got, you know, search for a box of that specific size, and they usually have some. Or even the post office. The post office often have boxes as well. But I live on Amazon because, well, they bring it to you, so, you know, saves a lot of that kind of grief, you know. Oh, honey, I bought everything off Amazon. I dread to think how much I've spent on Amazon over the years. You can buy literally anything on Amazon. Right, we've added all of our bobbins. Huzzah! Moreover, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These 5 bobbins are done till the next triangle. Done, you are out the way. Now, what time is it? 9:15. I really must put batteries in that clock. So the whole reason I didn't realise it was 4:30 today is because the clock on my wall says 25 to 5 all day, every day. And so I didn't realise how late it was today, and I actually gave my, excuse me, bear with me one moment. Why is my heating saying I'm using a penny's worth of gas an hour? And has been all day. But let me go and check something. Like the dogs haven't turned the one of the rings on the cooker. Hang on. Prediction, I win. Dogs have turned one of the rings on. I can't smell gas, which is obviously like this a really bad scenario because, well, it's dark now. Well, not that dark. Now, it's obviously been on most of the day, so I'm not that well spotted, but at least I did eventually spot it. And I'm going to be looking at you, little miss, for that one. That's going to be a you thing, that is. But because I can't smell it, I've been in and out of that kitchen all day. I wouldn't know. So if I'd flipped the light switch and it made a spark, kablooey, right? Because, well, if it's been leaking all day, there's probably a fair bit of it in there. So, yes, thanks for that, dog. Thank you very much. No, not yet. I mean, the door in here's open, but let me go and put the fan on. Hang on. Let me go and pump it out of it. You'll be glad to know I decided not to flip the switch just in case it caused the spark. I've opened the window. So, animals, they will kill me. I also want to point out, looking at the chart, it might be on since Sunday, so let's not congratulate me on well spotted. Normally I can hear it, so I would have heard it, but because I've got good hearing, but I've now got to, now the problem I also have is that while I've got one of those meter things, the gas meter is highly inaccurate. So I could go out the front of my house, throw the switch to the gas to cut off all of the gas to the house. After all, I don't really need it, it's kind of summer now, but that, you know, except for hot water and all the rest of it, right? But if I threw the thing for that, it would still say I'm using gas for probably about 3 hours. It's highly inaccurate. Even when you know you're not. So it'll take it a while to chill out. It was 0.009 pounds, so it's less than 1p an hour. But that still, of course, adds up. Now I can afford 20p an hour, you know, 20 something p a day, but so yeah, 6p on Sunday. 7 7p on Monday, nearly 7p on Tuesday, and 7p today. So realistically, yeah, I can afford that, but that's still not the point, right? The point is the gas that's been slowly leaking into my house all for the last 3 frigging days because you tried counter surfing. So let's not congratulate me too well spotted, but at least I spotted it eventually. Fucking animal. But obviously the more time that had gone on, the more gas would have accumulated and the more likely the chance of kablooey. So, Oh, that reminds me, I need to go and look for Mr. Bat. Hang on. I've got a horrible feeling that neighbour, when she chopped her big tree down, got rid of the bats. It's a bit early for bat, actually. Yeah, it's a bit light still. Mr. Bat won't necessarily be about. It's getting close, but I didn't see him the other day, so I'm a bit worried that they got rid of the bat, which technically she's not allowed to do. You're not allowed to evict bats in this country. I know she only removed plants, but you've got to be careful. Disturbing bats. Bats are protected. Right. I'm going to do this last bit of cloth stitch, I think, and give up for today. Yes. There are whole loads of things like that. It's a bit like the joke memes, but they're also kind of true. The if you kill someone and bury them in your garden, make sure to put an endangered plant on top of it, because then they can't uproot it. There's an element of truth to that, right? Well, exactly. You know, we're not stupid people. I mean, we can be, but we're not entirely stupid. I love bats. Oh, it's got a bit darker. Now it's time to go and see Mr. Bat's about. He can often be around, still slightly lighter. But I do fear she's killed off Mr. Bat's home. He's not out there. Every night he does laps. He used to do laps in my garden, like morning and every single day without fail. Yeah, that has a reasonable excuse for not being cute, you know. But definitely he's not out there. It's been a warm enough day. I'll give him another couple of minutes and go and have another look. Do worry about Mr. Bat. I like Mr. Bat. I used to say hello to him every time I saw him. There's actually more than one bat, I need to point out, but I really do hope that she didn't kill off his home, because I've always enjoyed seeing them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. My grand's old house, literally middle of nowhere. One year I was visiting as an adult, and it sounded like, I'm sure Nauticourt will understand this. I got to the point I was swearing. I could hear like killer man-eating vampire rats. Okay, I was convinced it was a rat because it seemed to be about the same size as my grandmother's dog, which was a small terrier. So I was convinced that there were like these three, you know, kind of Chernobylized rats running around the room. But I could hear something scrabble up. What it sounded like, it came up the stairs along the landing, because my grandmother's landing didn't have, none of my grandmother's upstairs had carpet. So it sounded like it came across the floor, like sort of kind of noise, right? I should probably hear that. That'll be a bit better. So I could hear that kind of noise, and I thought it was the dog. Maybe the door wasn't shut. Called the dog, nothing happened. And of course it's blacker than the badger's butthole. So did I turn the light on? No, because I'm stupid. And I sat there, and it seemed to come up the landing like this, come into my room and go across the bottom of the room. And that worried me, because the dog would never have done that. See you, Fleece and Bee. So I was a little bit paranoid, so I went and woke up my boyfriend, who was sleeping in another room, because of course one does not sleep in the same room as one's boyfriend in Granny's house. And I slept on top of the covers in case we were discovered, or it was all above board. But I was not sleeping in my room. I worked myself into a frenzy. Anyway, next day, Gran goes up in the loft, finds droppings. Oh, it's mice, she said. I'm thinking that didn't sound like no fucking mouse. Anyway, got in the exterminator to kill the mice. He went straight up the loft and went, sorry madam, they're bats. And then, knowing that they were bats, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I waited outside till dusk. And, oh look, it was like the scene in Batman where all the bats flood out the cage. There were thousands, and I mean thousands of them living in her attic, and you can't get rid of them. You're not allowed. They're protected. So, good luck to whoever bought her house after she died, you know. I hope you like your bats, you know. Personally, I have no problems with bats. I've caught a couple because they've got inside and been frightened or bothering somebody. The best one, I was at work and I went to go for a wee and get a coffee. Oh, almost certainly, but you're not allowed to do anything about it. They're protected, so. But if they're in your attic and you're not, it's not really a problem, is it? Anyway, they're usually in barns, to be fair. But at work, went to go for a pee and get a drink. And I went out, and there's like the entire network team out there, and they're fucking shouting, jumping, screaming, what the fuck are you doing? And there was this poor little bat. I mean, he was literally, like head to toe this big with a wingspan of this, right? Poor little bat. And they were flapping up and down, and flapping up and down, and flapping up and down, and flapping up and down. And I said, stop it. You're scaring it. Because they had boxes and all sorts. I said, stay there. And I did kind of a bit of this, waving my hands around so to kind of guide it into a corner. Pop. Thunk. Right, well, someone opened the window. It took me literally that long to catch it. That was almost a real-time effort. They'd been out there apparently for 45 minutes scaring the shit out of it. And you're like, I know you're not supposed to handle them because they do contain potentially germy things. But just pick it up. I'll wash my hands in a minute. Just, take him outside, put him somewhere safe. Not in this country, it's not. We do not have such a thing. 1, 3, 4, 5. We're very proud of it, thank you. It is. Well, move to the UK. You too can live in a country with no rabies. We've been rabies free for quite a while. But it's one of those weird things is that, it's the same with hedgehogs and everything. Oh, you're not supposed to touch them because they have germs and fleas and yeah. I think you summed it up, my friend. I mean, you do have much bigger area, and therefore some of these things are harder to control, and it only takes a few arseholes to spoil it for the many, but yeah, pretty much. And if they do bite you, well, you know, probably not going to be the best moment of your life, but in this country, it's not going to kill you, so, yeah, fine, whatever, or anybody else. I've handled bats a couple of times. One landed on my mother in a shop and I had to pick it out of her hair. You know, this poor scared thing, you know. So I've done that a couple of times and I'll do it again tomorrow, frankly. How's it doing? Give Batty a minute. Yeah, but in this country you almost don't have to bother. Because, you know, anything they've got is... The only thing that you might need is tetanus, and they don't do tetanus shots for everything over here anymore. When I was a kid, if you cut yourself on a rusty thing, or you got bitten by an animal, or anything like that, oh, you need a tetanus shot. Nowadays, as long as you've had one in your adult life, they don't give you another one. They pretty much refuse. Which is quite surprising. So yeah, poor little Batty. It's reasonably dark. The problem is when I look out the front, it looks darker than it does out the back because the sunset's behind the house. So it is normally about the right time for him. I mean, obviously I don't do it by the clock, but I'm looking at the kind of sky. Problem is all I can see out the back of my house are trees, so I can't see the sky from here. I have to get up and look. But I would say it's got to be close. It's got to be close to bat time. Let's go have a look. Yeah, you see, standing here it looks a lot lighter. There he is. Hello, Mr. Bat. Mr. Bat's here. Yay. Hello, Batty. Good to see you still here. I'm happy now. Mr. Bat's still alive. Yay! We have Bat! It is cool! Everybody's happy. So, I have Bat. That is all that matters. I don't know where he lives, but... I do. Hence I say hello to him every time I see him. He is my friend. He eats the bugs from my garden. I mean, who could not like bats, really? I love bats. My ex-husband loves bats. We went on holiday once to Cornwall. 1, 2, 3. That's kind of where we're at now. And he does circuits. He does literally figure of eights like this around my gun. For ages. It's great. So I let him. I'm not going to go out there and stop him. I love watching him. But I try not to interact with him directly. And, you know, I don't open the doors. Because I don't want to interrupt his feeding. I mean, how would you like it if, oh, you're eating your dinner. Can I have a look? Yeah, let's not, right? So I don't try to interrupt him because he's having his dinner, but I do like to say hello to him and move on, really. I mean, they do go around the front, and you know, because there are actually more than one bat. I have seen 2 at a time, but there's bound to be more of them. I just maybe they, you know, maybe they do like a few figure eights, go home because they're kind of full now, and the next one comes out, and actually there's like 20 different Mr. Bats, and maybe Mrs. Bats, but I always refer to them as Mr. Bat. Just because, but it is, I love seeing them, and to be honest, if they live in my house, I'd be proud. I'd be proper proud to have bats in my house. Now, I know that the lady who owns... Yes, you can hear them. Or often you can hear them. You can't always, but there are a lot of times you can hear them. I went for a walk... Henley upon Thames, I think it was, in London, and you were almost bombarded by them. It again was kind of like a flock of bats in the face, and you could hear those. And the person I was with was really quite terrified, and it's like, they haven't hit you, and there's a reason for that. You know, they can tell where you are. They don't want to hit you any more than you want them to hit you. You know, it's, you know, they're little. Now, I know that they're like flying mice, right? But as Nordic knows, I don't have a problem with mice, only with rats. So if they were the size of rats, yeah, I'd probably have a problem with the bat. But they're not. They're little fuckers. They're tiny little things. And I love them. And so I was quite upset when the lady who owns the land next door had her clear out. And I thought that she maybe outed and maybe polished off Mr. Bat. I was getting quite worked up because I haven't seen him for a week. But, of course, you do have to catch the right time. Because, of course, if it's too dark, you can't see them. And if it's too light, they're not out. So you have to kind of stand at the right place to catch a bit of kind of light in the sky to look for the bat. But normally, I'm very good at spotting if Mr. Bat's out there. And I hadn't seen him for a week. But I feel better now. Because, well, I feel better now. But I'd be proud to have them in my house. I really, really would. You're right, maybe I need to put some bat boxes up. Put them down the side of my house or something. That could be a good plan. Amazon, do you sell bat boxes? Do. Oh, they do some really stylish ones. They do some proper stylish ones. Oh, that's so cool. Look at this. Look at this. Look at that for a bat box. That's really cool. And it's night and it's just under 20 quid. Yeah, it's like 20 quid. Holy shit. I mean, they've got some really ugly, boring ones, but... That's a really good question. I'm very tempted to get bat boxes. Problem is I've got wooden cladding on the top half of my house, which is where you'd want to put the bat box. And at some point I'm going to have that replaced because, you know, it doesn't last forever, which would disturb the bat box, which would be bad. No. No. I do know exactly what you mean. But I am glad Mr. Bat's okay. I feel good. You can, but again, you've got to make sure it's somewhere good and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That, you know, that it's got to be somewhere where, you know, the pole is secure, and because obviously if the pole falls over, that could be really quite disastrous for poor little Batty if he's asleep in his box and the pole falls over. You know, that's going to kill them, and so that's not what we want. It's, you know, there is definitely something you I mean, on my old house, for example, it was pure brick. There was nothing about it. And so as a result, if I'd wanted to put bat boxes up, and there were bats who used to go down, there was, well, at least 2 bats who used to fly along the bottom of the garden amongst the trees, picking out some insects. But you didn't see them very often. I mean, they came, like, generally once a day, but they'd do like 3 or 4 laps and then you'd never see them again. So there weren't many bats, whereas here, I think there are quite a few. It's just that you can't tell you're watching a different one. You know, it's not like they shout, "Hi, I'm Jeff," back, you know. You know, much as that would be helpful, they don't kind of introduce themselves. So there is a good chance that they're, you know, it is actually a, you know, a selection of bats. And why is this getting all tangled up? There we go. I don't want you tangled, but I do want you. Right. So yeah, with all of those things in mind, I would love to have bats here, but I think the cladding on my house blocks me from having them, because well, it falls out the bottom. It doesn't have a bottom. They come in underneath, hang in the top, and then come out through the bottom. So the poop falls to the floor underneath. And therefore, as long as you put it over your garden, free manure. So yeah, I'm glad Mr. Bat's okay. Well, it does. But when I was talking to Mrs. Next Door, when she was having her plants taken down, I kind of asked her about where the bats lived, because they seem, I assume they come from her direction. She owns most of the land around here, so if it's not in my garden, chances are it's probably hers, right? Anyway, she doesn't know, which I find worrying, because she says she thinks they live in the trees. Well, that can be true, but at the same time, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you're having trees cut down, if you're having buildings removed, if you're having, you know, work done, you need to be aware of where they are, because you know they exist. It's like my grand's house. Until she knew there were bats, she would have had every right to have, you know, colossal work sorted out, because no one knew that she had bats. But the moment they find they have bats, they have to stop. Well, you know, who's checking that the tree she's chopping down or the building she's knocking down? She said, oh, they live in a lot of the barns. Well, then you do know you have to keep them up. You can't just, like, get rid of them and sell them off and sell them for you know, making new houses, because bats are protected. So I do worry a little that she's not doing due diligence on that one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I do worry a little bit for the bat department. I mean, we have probably got quite a few. So in terms of bat population, it probably wouldn't hurt so bad. I don't think she does. And I don't think that's a bad reflection upon her, because, you know, her family used to farm all the land around here. Her son still does to a large extent. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And as a result, in being farmers, bats would be more of a pest to them, although you'd think that they'd appreciate, you know, killing off wayward insects. But, you know, like everything, if it's stopping you building sheds for your cows or removing sheds for your cows or whatever, then, well, it's a hindrance, right? And farmers do have a very different level of view of things. So, for example, you take Rory and Amy here. If they were farm dogs, if you pay 100 quid for the dog, if the dog's going to need more than 100 quid worth of care, you shoot it and have done with it and move on, right? Because it's not cost efficient. You can't spend thousands upon every frail animal in your care, because you'll just lose money hand over fist, and farmers are not rich at the best of them. Exactly, there is a level of that. And, you know, Mrs. Next Door is, I think she said she's 97 now, right? She's not 12, but she was very much a farm child. So, and because her son is continuing it, they very much still would have that kind of farm mentality. Now, admittedly, they don't have animals, but it is still, you know, to be honest, I could not pay up either. I don't care if you're a £10 cow or whatever it is, or you know, a couple of grand on a dog. I have spent fortunes on my animals, and I always will. Charlie, bless his little fairy face, I loved Charlie more than I could ever have expressed. But the amount of money I spent on Charlie was phenomenal. Because Charlie had a reoccurring growth in his ear. It didn't do him any harm. It wasn't cancerous. It bothered me more than it bothered him, because I kept having it seen to. But it used to grow, and it grew, and it grew, and it would have got to a point it was bothering him. But by the time it was bothering him, it would have been huge and hard to deal with. Well, I grew up on a farm, but I grew up on a produce farm rather than an animal farm. We did have some chickens, but again, chickens are slightly different, and we didn't have them for long, because, well, eventually we ate them. But, you know, we got bored of collecting eggs, and they were, you know, it was more for personal use than anything else. But for the farm, you know, we grew 100 weight of everything, right? So I didn't really have that problem, but I saw the cows and everything around me, because there were farm animals around me, but there were other farms. So like you, I grew up, and Charlie had 5 ear operations, a couple of grand pop. He blew both cruciate ligaments. They were 2,000 or 3,000 each, and I don't regret a single penny. Absolutely not. Maddie was on chemo for 6 or 7 years. 50 quid a pill. Now, originally it was supposed to be 2 daily. Now, admittedly, apparently her body didn't take 2 daily, and I became quite grateful that it was 1 pill every 2 days. But I didn't have a problem with that. I found that. And should one of these two need it, I would do the same again in a heartbeat. I wouldn't even... I mean, if I ran out of money, I'd ask Trev and he'd fucking pay. Seriously, if I ran out of money protecting one of my dogs and keeping it well, because it needed that much ongoing care, he would help. Because he wouldn't want it to suffer either, and he doesn't even live with them, and they're not his. But, you know, I would go bankrupt saving my dog. I know it's wrong and slightly ridiculous, but not really. I once said about Charlie that if Charlie could understand that on Valentine's Day how much it would mean if he sent me a card, obviously dogs do not write cards, I'm not stupid here, but if he could understand that writing me a card would be the most special thing I could ever have in my life, I know full well that dog would have done it. Because he was a special little guy. He would have given the fur off his back to look after me. If I was sad, he wanted in, right? And these two aren't really any different. And it is. If they would give their lives for you, well, surely you should do the same. You know, they love you like their own, you love them like their own. So let's not be pretending that dogs can go one of 2 ways. The burglar breaks in and they flee, or the burglar breaks in and they have at it, right? You never truly know until the time comes which they're going to do. But there is a bit of you that says, that dog would protect me. I know Charlie would have protected me. One night, I've said to you before, when I go to sleep, I'm not actually asleep. I'm actually conscious. I'm just not remembering it directly. And I'd gone to sleep, and obviously I know I was farting, coughing, burping, sneezing, wheezing, snoring, whatever, right? Trev obviously got fed up and went to sleep in the guest room. Trev then obviously woke up wanting a pee. Charlie hadn't noticed because he was asleep. Charlie heard a door open in the house upstairs, and I put my hand out immediately as I was waking up to stop him and said, "It's Trevor." I knew it was my husband. I knew who was in the other. I didn't know he'd gone. I was asleep. I slept through all that shit. But I knew before I woke up what was going on and to stop it. And Charlie never left the bed. I had hold of the dog and had told him, "Oh, don't be daft, that's Trevor." Trev then went, "Yeah, it's me." And the dog kind of went, "Oh, okay." But that dog was ready to kill and take out whoever was in the house coming for me. And the fact that it was Trevor could have gone really quite interesting. But, you know, he'd have done it. He was all up for it. He was doing the whole big I am shit. And he meant it. It wasn't kind of like growl, growl. "Oh shit, you looked at me, run away." It was, no. "Come here, son. I need a word with you." He was well up for that fight. And I knew before I was even really conscious what was going on. But I would have been really interesting if I hadn't. So yeah, I know Charlie would have given his life for me. Or at least tried, you know. And if he had, I would have hated myself, to be honest. Because, you know, the same is true. I'd have rather given my life than have him lose his. He was very much a special little man. And I'd do the same for these two. Same when Rory escaped. The fact that he escaped and had found the only people who don't like dogs, I was mortified. Because I hadn't known that he'd gone. I mean, I don't think he'd been gone actually that long, but I've got no way of proving how long he'd been gone for. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to call this a day and leave this for potentially tomorrow. Because today's Wednesday, so I've got a bit for Thursday. I mean, obviously, come Friday, if we get to the end, I can always turn the corner. It won't kill me. I'm going to leave it a bit for today. I'm going to try and get... I'm not going to say an early night, because it'll take a while for this to upload. And I never seem to get an early night, even when I try to. So, I didn't get an early night last night. It was not as late as usual, but it wasn't really early either. Because it was going to be 10:30. It was going to be 10:30. Oh, look, it's 1 a.m. now. Where did that go? I may have fallen asleep, I guess, but next thing I knew, it was 1 o'clock in the morning and I hadn't gone to bed yet. So I'm trying not to do that today. I could do with some sleep. Otherwise, I will eat a few co-workers tomorrow in their stupidity. Because if I have to explain one more time it's not the bloody Unix box to people, someone will die. And it will not be me. I do suffer from depression. I do wish to occasionally remove myself from the population. But today is not that day. Today it's somebody else's time, you know. Because it's not my fault. So, I thank you very much for your accompaniment. Yeah, I think we all have days where, you know, removing ourselves would be a plan. But today is not that day. Today it is definitely I'm good and it's something wrong with the rest of you moment. So I'm feeling quite reasonable with that on today. It's not the I have no self-doubts on the matter. And I'm buggered if it's going to be me. So hence I ate the poor lady who knocked back on my door. Well, it can. I mean, once again, it is generally a minority. But you always seem to find one. I don't know what it is, but it's like when you were in class, there was the SWAT, there was the arsehole, right? Every class had a SWAT and an arsehole. And it didn't seem to matter what classes you took, how big or small they were, there was one SWAT, one arsehole for every class. And humanity is very much the same. There are tons of nice people. You just sometimes struggle to find them. Because, well, they're avoiding everyone too. Hence, things like this are great, because we can all get together, even if we're not geographically together. Because I consider you all nice people. And I know Nautica will probably pipe up, well, I'm not. Well, yeah, shut up, Nautica. Well, and this is the problem with so much of it, is that, you know, anywhere you go, there are just enough assholes that spoil it for everybody. And so as a result, people who are nice tend to avoid other people on the grounds that, well, you might be one of the not so agreeable people, and they don't want to find out because they haven't got the time and the energy and the social battery to brave it out to find out that you weren't. I mean, I do occasionally end up randomly talking to strange people, and most of them have been really, really nice. Those who aren't nice, it's kind of like, I've got to go, bye, fucking off, yeah. But to be honest, I haven't met too many of those. But there are plenty. The whole place is littered with them. You know, there was an old lady, it might even have been my next door neighbour, who I used to see in town waiting for taxis. As she comes to think of it, I think it actually was her, but there we go. And the number of times I'd see her in the rain waiting for a car, and I'd stay with her to keep her company. Talk to her a bit. Do you need a hand? Can I do anything? Oh, I'll stand and wait for you for the car, because, you know, a bit worried about you. Don't give a shit, really, but I saw a woman once resting on the wall looking a bit crook. All right, I'm struggling a bit today. Well, can I help? Let me carry this for you. Well, I'm not necessarily any better off than she was, but, you know, at least with two of you, you can have a bit of a laugh about it. I am genuinely kind of nice. I can be an arsehole if I want to, now who can't? I mean, we all have an inner arsehole. But I'd like to think, for the most part, I would define myself as a reactive person. If you come at me as an arse, you will see an arse. You will meet an arse. If you come at me all nice, I'm likely to be nice back. I reflect back that which I see. So if you're an arsehole to me, expect a face full of shit, because, well, I ain't got time for you. But if you come, it's the same as people at work. I know. Hey, Sugar Bear. It is I can be nice, honest. I can be an arse. But I think we all... Hello. Sadly, we're wrapping up, people. But it is one of those things, is I think everyone has the inner arsehole. Because we can all do arseholey things. Sometimes deliberately, with strong intention. Thanks, Sugar Bear. But sometimes we can be deliberately arseholey. We can set out to be mean and horrible to someone who's been a bit of an arse first, right? It's very rare that I would start one. I do have a couple of exceptions that I can think out, that they could be nice to me, but I still wouldn't want to be nice back. And it was something that I think we said on stream the other day. If you're an arsehole, and I mean a genuine to the core, let's say you make a really nice cup of coffee. Doesn't stop you being an arsehole. One small good does not delete the mountain of bad that you did. Now, sadly, the reverse isn't true. If you do a mountain of good and a tiny bit of stupidity stroke wrong, somehow you are still branded an arsehole. It is not an equal balance. Bad is significantly heavier than good. But there are a couple of people in my life that I am aware of that, frankly, I don't care if they, you know, give up every penny that they earn for all the good charities, and they spend every hour of their waking life helping the people less fortunate than themselves. The things that they have seen and done to me, I cannot forgive them for. And I would have a night, you know, if they were on fire, I'd throw petrol at them, right? It's just not going to happen, right? I couldn't spare the pee to pee on them, right? But it is a few. It's only a few. But there are plenty of people that are kind of, I didn't see that. What a shame. You know, I mean, I've openly admitted my mother is one of the kinds that I would happily throw petrol on. But she did kind of torture me for 20 years, so I'm kind of allowed to. So it is... We live in a world where being an arsehole is easy. And it's wrong. And I was talking to my co-worker today, one of my co-workers today, because we were talking about things like, if I went round to Naughty Celts for tea and he cooked me green vegetables, A, I'd be annoyed at him, but B, I would like to think he would never know, because if he bothered to cook for me, I would bother to eat it. And, well, I come from my mother and there ain't really no bigger, but I actually said this, and I mean it, right? If Naughty Celt served me, Chappie on chips, and for those who do not know, Chappie is a dog food brand. It's kind of dog meat in a tin, right? And it smells of fish, and it's really stinky, shitty, horrible smell. They love it, of course, because it's stinky and horrible. But if that's what you served me for tea, I would friggin' eat that. Would I like it? Probably not, but I'd eat it. Because that is how I was brought up. If someone's bothered to cook for you, unless you're going to die eating it or hospitalise yourself, it is kind of gross. And to be honest, I'm not keen on the idea. But at the same time, I had my mother's cooking, and I can assure you now, Chappie on chips would be a step up from anything my mother made. So let's not dwell on that thought too much. But if that's what he cooked me, in quotes, because obviously you'd have to cook the chips, I'd eat that because that's what I was offered. And I would say thank you and how nice it was. I'd feel sick probably for the rest of the evening, but that's by the by. And the same's true with things that I don't eat, like green vegetables and the rest of it. I would thank him, eat it, and feel ill probably later. But you still say thank you because someone has gone out of their way to spend money on food. They bought it, fed you. They didn't have to. Even if they invited you round for tea, it was a kindness. You do not spit in the face of kindness. You thank them for it. They buy you. And that's the thing, is that unless you're violently allergic to peanuts and they put peanuts in it, or, something along those lines, if it's not going to kill you, but you just don't like it, well, that's a shame. You're eating it now. And my co-worker was explaining that he's brought up his daughter that way. And I'm really pleased to hear it, because I thought he was a bit of an arsehole, actually. But his daughter has been brought up that way. And he said kind of the same things to me, is that you do not bring up your children to go, I'm not eating that. That was never an option to be said in my house. One of my co-workers, my daughter didn't go into school today, she wouldn't get out of the car. What do you mean she had a fucking choice? I never got choices. Lots of the things that kids today, and I said this to my co-worker and he said, I don't understand. And I said, too many parents now want to be friends with their children, not their parents. Well, he does the same to his daughter, unless it's kind of now really gone off. If you don't eat it one meal, well, here it is for round two, And my parents were the same, but my mother can't cook, so, that was never really... I mean, it was, to be honest, cold or hot, didn't really matter. It was still inedible. But, it is... Too many kids, I'm not eating that. I don't like that. Well, that's a shame for you then, isn't it? Because that's what's for tea. Yeah. And the problem is we've now got... Well, exactly. If you have animals or young children where you can't have the conversation, there is no discussion about it. You are the adult. They are the dependent on you. Because your animal is dependent on you just as a small child is. You are there. This is dinner. If you don't like it, you cannot eat it, but then you're going hungry. I am not cooking you dino nuggets because you like dino nuggets and don't want, the chop that I made you tonight. Or, I mean, I do respect that a child has the right to say, I don't like something, so maybe you would give them less of it. So, you know, for example, my mother did make the concession. I really feel quite ill after eating green vegetables. So my mother would cook me carrots instead of peas for my dad. But what she basically did was cook peas and carrots. My dad didn't overly like carrots. I didn't overly like peas. She didn't really care. So she cooked kind of 1.5 portions of each. She gave my dad a portion of peas, me a portion of carrots, and half a portion of each for her. And that worked out fine. That was a concession we could live with. Anything else? So if we had, I mean, cauliflower cheese is kind of like, but if you had broccoli cheese kind of thing, right? That's tea, done. If you had cauliflower cheese, my dad didn't like cauliflower, well, that's tea, done. You're welcome not to eat it, but tough shit. And we were always brought up like that. And too many children today, I don't like that. Oh, little love, you must be hungry. Here's some crisps, here's some biscuits, here's some crisps. You know, I'll cook you dino nuggets and... No. The only time I would accept cooking different food for a child, bear in mind I don't have any, but the only time I would accept is if they are going somewhere. Oh, God. Oh, dear God. You'd be proud of me. You would be so proud of me. It's 1995. I am in IKEA with boyfriend at the moment. We are trying to pick a couch. We have been there 3 goddamn hours because Mr. Couch, who is unfortunately having to pay for it, wants a sofa bed, even though we never used it as a sofa bed. And basically, I don't like this one, I don't like the arms, I don't like this one. We tried every fucking sofa in the whole of IKEA, right? We knew what we wanted, what fabric we were putting on it, but he couldn't decide on the couch. We've been there 3 hours and my patience was non-existent. From the moment, though, we had entered in that store, for the whole 3 hours we were there, and at one point, I'd wandered off to the table department looking at a table because I was getting fed up of couches. And all I could still hear was really loudly, you know. It obviously didn't really know any words. And I just yelled I announced in my rather loud, booming voice that travels beautifully, by the way. It's about time that got a slap. Because if they don't, I will. And obviously inevitably a couple of people looked at me with oh my God, how did she say that? Oddly enough, there was a resounding slap noise. Right, there was a slap noise, followed by kind of blood curdling thing. And then quiet. And you will never guess how many people were going to me. We'd put up with that shit for hours. Enough. Enough is done, right? I get that your child is tired. This is one of the things I absolutely hate about UK food stores, right? I'm going to get on my soapbox for this one, I apologise. UK food stores. Right out the front, there will be mother and baby parking. Now, I do appreciate that some mothers cannot, single parents cannot necessarily leave small child at home while you go shopping. But do not be taking little scrawny whiny ass with you shopping because daddy wants some peace and quiet on a Saturday morning or whatever it is. Leave the little shit bag at home because we don't want to share it either. I want to do my shopping. I do not want to be hearing your crotch gobbling kicking off in the store or running around and treating it like a playground. There was one kid who did the kind of football slide across the floor, and I've had one headbutt my basket because I was standing there and it ran into me, and its mother went to have a go at me, and I gave her that kind of, as she opened her mouth, I kind of looked at her with that, go on then. Right? There are times I do appreciate that not all mothers can leave their children at home, but if it's a bit like the barking dog in your yard, right? Dogs bark. It's what dog does. Don't have a problem with that. My next door neighbour has a dog. I rarely hear that thing. My neighbours tell me, and I would like to believe them, that they don't often hear my dogs because, well, my dogs don't generally go out and bark much in the garden. They might go and say fuck off to something, but that'll be it, and then they know to shut up and come back. Mrs. who lives out back can be 8 hours of barking. What you need to hear is, shut up, come and get indoors. You do not want to hear roof, 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 for 8 hours. Do not need 8 hours of that shit. Do not need more than like 10 minutes of that shit, frankly. You need to be heard to be trying. I did a stream last year, and I don't know if I was on stream or I'd just finished stream, but there was Mrs. out back going, Bailey, 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 literally like that. And I went out back, creeped up to my back gate, my back fence, had a peer through the fence. There she was, standing by her garden gate, her little slipper of an ugly thing, I mean, you know, it's a little white fluffy thing, right, had fucked off down the field and was completely poorly trained dog, but also maybe just happy to get away from the bitch. I mean, you know, I was beginning to feel sympathetic for it. It was just flat ignoring it. When she yelled its name, it didn't even look at her. It was happy as a pig in a pile of poo, sniffing round this field. But she was just standing there. And she did it for about 20 minutes. And I was now at the bottom of the garden. She continued doing it. She got a fucking mouthful for it. It's clearly not coming. Go and get it. And my neighbour sent me a... Because they feel the same, right? You know, it's... I came back and sat down and my phone went ping and there was a round of applause on it. I'd beaten her to it. You know, I mean, we in the UK are not armed, right? Which is just as well. Because much as I am an animal lover, I'd have probably shot her or the dog, one or the other. I don't really care which. You know how it gets to that point where, you know what, actually at this right point in time, I don't care which of you goes, but one of you will. Someone's paying for this, you know. It would have been her, frankly. But, yeah, the problem is Mrs. who lives out back is a NHS worker, and she does night shifts, and clearly she's had a dog flat put in her house, so the dogs can come out. She is, right? And there's a dog flap, and she's got an Alsatian down to this little slipper thing. I think she's got 3 dogs, right? But they can come out of the house as and when they want. Now, arguably, it means they can go back in when they want. But, of course, if they found things to bark at, where's the incentive to go back in? So, she often goes to work and her dogs will bark. Now, during the day, while I'm working, to be honest, not so bothered. In the evening, when it's my time and I want to appreciate the time that I have, I'm done with your shit now. I've had idiots all day. I'm done with your shit. If it's a nice sunny day and I want to sit in the garden, I do not want to be hearing your fucking whiny ass dog. Shut it the hell up before I walk around there and bitch slap them. Because I would. You know, it's like a small child. If you're going to sit and whine and whine and whine and whine and your parents not to deal you the consequences, I will happily do that for you. It would be my honour. You know? I do not have to be your friend. I will happily hand out the justice of your consequences. So yes, I am genuinely, for the most part, nice. But once you've pushed it, no. It does, but like everything, for the most part, I'm a nice person. Once you've pushed me too far, though, no, not so much. The Liz, the dragon arsehole, will arise. And to be honest, you do not get off Santa's naughty list, right? it doesn't happen. Anyway, I need to go do the bins. I need to eat some dinner. Did I have dinner today? No, I didn't have dinner today. So I really could do with some dinner because I don't think I had any yesterday either. Oh, I need to take a picture. I need to do the picture thing. Hang on, let's do the picture thing. Picture thing. Right. So, let's tuck you up out the way so my laptop can go on for tomorrow. Yes, I will be back tomorrow. Tomorrow is Thursday. I have every intention of being here. Idiots allowing, because obviously, you know, like everything, if I do another 11-hour day, for example, you will need to forgive me, but if I've not had lunch and I've been on the phone for 11 hours, sitting and talking to you guys, much as I honestly do love you all and appreciate seeing you all, because you all make me feel so much better about my life, I do struggle. So keep an eye on the old Discord server, because that will tell you what's happening. But I should see you tomorrow evening, probably somewhere between 5 and 7 start. Take care, everybody. Have a good rest of evening, stroke sleep for those of us who are nearer that end of the day than the rest of you. And thank you for coming. Bye-bye, everybody.